step into the lab, lights hum like a starship dock. Pine logs stacked like data banks in a cube block. I calibrate climates while the timeline bends. Writing fungal code loops only my psyllium sends. I navigate ecosystems with instinctive precision. Every egg played a portal to a parallel vision. Many ships spin up like reactors at dawn. You want a culture revolution, then you better respond. We fracture the boundaries of the natural order, make Reishi bloom sideways like a space-time border. I'm an Appalachian alchemist, wild ridge born, with a druid's intuition and a mind full of spores.
Keep spawning culture.
We're the network underfoot, the unseen sculpture.
Keep spawning culture.
Hello. What's up, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good day. We are preparing for snowpocalypse here, so that's going to be fun. What's up, Plum? Shroomies and Shroomettes. I guess, Samantha, you're a Shroomette now. She about tripped over the dog. What's up, Exception? Welcome to the stream. Everybody has plenty of questions for me. Take my mind off this icy breeze that's coming down from up north. Make my life a little easier. Right? Shrugs. Oh, man. Actually, hold on one second, guys. I'm going to put my hair up because it's getting in the way of my mic. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. And thank you for your patience. Well, like I said, we are preparing for the snowpocalypse over here, and it is going to get cold. And I guess a lot of you guys are probably preparing for that. But thankfully, being a mushroom farmer, I've got all kinds of things that heat things and cool things and cook things. And so I think we're going to be all right. I think... and then my camping gear makes it even easier, right? So if it all gets bad, I've got at least a camp stove and a bunch of camp fuel. No, we don't. Did you do something to my camp fuel? No? Okay. Well, everybody, we're going to talk about mushrooms first. Turning spent substrate and food waste into eggs and meat. I got a video. I just got done recording the speaking part. I have all the B-roll from old Brycey. And now we need to get the next step will be getting the B-roll attached. So that's what we're going to be preparing. Just the sight of one snowflake causes accidents in my area. I forgot where you're at, Plum. But that's kind of the way it goes here. We have like no snowstorms ever, hardly. Every few years, I guess. And blizzard of 93 is what everybody talks about around here, right? So the blizzard of 93, and that's what everybody's likening this storm coming to. I'm not terribly worried. In fact, if the power goes out and you guys don't hear from me for days, that's because I'm just laying in and staying warm and reading a book and disconnecting from the world for a minute. So I'll be using that as a vacation. Brody's out there. Yep. So I don't think Brody and I get cold that easy, do we? You don't really. You kind of do. My oldest is like a scarecrow. He gets so cold so easy. He's cold during summer. But yeah, what we joke about all the time is that people see a snowflake and they start running for their milk sandwiches. Everybody wants milk and bread. Milk and bread. In fact, I tried to order bread from the grocery store for a Walmart order, and I got no bread. They didn't even have substitutions. And thankfully, my dad went and got some bread for us this morning, early, first thing. So it's really nice of him. But yeah, we have the same thing. One snowflake, and it's done for. I sent you my address in Discord Messenger, but I don't think you saw it. 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, we had a game. Yeah. It was not a joke. So I will get on their exception right now while I'm thinking of it and make sure that I see that. It's probably in message request. Yep, that's what it is that I have a message request from you, and I didn't see it because it was request. So I just sent you a message. We are now, I've added a friend, sent you a friend request, so we are good to go. But yeah, man, absolutely. I'm glad you reminded me of that. What's up? Glad to have you on, Miriam. Hey, you accepted my friend request. We're friends now. Hi, Andrew. Hope you're good. I am good, Andy. Thank you very much. It's super fun being me right now. Like I said, I was getting to record a video, and I got to open up the dock doors and get some sunlight, and it's nice and warm here, actually. Like, I can walk around in shorts and just a t-shirt and flannel, and I'm fine. People probably think I'm crazy walking around in sandals right before a storm comes, but yeah, it's going really well. Thank you. Yeah, it is ridiculous. Sarah's from this area, so she knows it is crazy. What's up, kitty? What you doing, buddy? What's up, Buttons? My daughter named him Buttons, so I call him. I say, "What's up, Butt? Did you get attacked again? You got a cut again." Can I get a gnocchi to fruit and grow at 74 degrees in Miami with AC set to 74 in my house? Some varieties you can, and it's going to depend on probably some other factors, but a lot of times you can. Your yields won't be as high as they are when it's cold. They really respond to cold. So maybe if you cold shock them, like by putting them in the fridge, I would suggest something like our Appalachian gnocchi or our white gold gnocchi. Both the white gold is descended from the Appalachian and a commercial white. Both of those seem to have slightly better warm temperature tolerance. The other one that I would suggest is specifically the Velvet Foot strain. Gnocchi's already called Velvet Foot. That's just kind of its common name. So gnocchi, there's a strain by Appalachian Gold called Velvet Foot, and if you go to Appalachian Gold and get the Velvet Foot from him, let me know, and let him know that I sent you. So I like Jeff a lot. He does a lot of good stuff. So do you have him behind? I do. Yeah, that was Buttons. You probably asked that before I introduced him, but awesome. Yeah, man. Glad we got you taken care of. What's up, Colin? We are doing well. Thank you very much. Just preparing for the snowpocalypse. I'm just excitedly, it's a good thing I was on the survival podcast, right? I should do better at surviving. But yeah, it's things are going exceedingly well. I'm really, really enjoying it. I can sell you a kit. I'm not selling them online. I don't really want to do that. But if you want to come by, I absolutely have. We're always producing what we call super spawn. And super spawn is used in what we call our value cascade. None of that's really important to you right now. What's important is we always have stuff in stock right now. And having that in stock means that super spawn can be used for fruiting or spawn. So it means that we always have something you can work with. I'd like to discuss the sustainable nature of composting blocks with the help of chickens. Absolutely, Plum. I'm happy to. Like I said, I was working on that video. So the video that comes out tomorrow, as long as the power doesn't go out early, that video that goes out tomorrow is about that system. And I've got a couple of pictures and stuff we can show just to talk a little bit about it briefly tonight. And then I'll have that video out as well. So yeah, let's talk about it. Just give me a moment and we'll get to the questions. If you want to ask any specific questions, I'll go ahead and get those lined up and I'll show you what I got. Actually, let's just show you what I got right now. Okay. I really messed up the potential naming for this. There we go. So if I share screen, oh, I can just do the image file. There we go. So there's that. And let me get a couple of these stacked up just to show you guys some examples really quickly. Oh, not share screen, image file. Guess all of these are image files. Okay, cool. Now, I'm going to show you. This is. I guess that's about the best framing I'm going to get. So this is just showing like some farm waste that he got, right? These are farm waste. You've got peppers and stuff from the grocery store. These are things that are going to have been thrown out. So he would go and collect a lot of food waste, whether that's from farms, restaurants. And this is Doe River fungi. He gave me permission to give out the name of his farm and stuff yesterday. This is Doe River fungi up in Elizabethton area of Tennessee. Very mountainous, very, very, very green. He's basically up there in the temperate rainforest area, right on the edge. So he would take all this waste, and then he would build these rounds over the hardware cloth, and he would layer food waste and sawdust blocks, the spent substrate, all of that kind of stuff. And you can see that pile in the background. That's a finished pile, the one that he's kind of transferred over. And he's got this pin that you can see set up here. That pin is a mobile pin, so he was able to keep the chickens in it. I think that was electric line. I'm not entirely sure, but he would move this around. The chickens would scratch all of this up, and then you can see, based on this photo from the other angle, there he's got his little chicken tractor. He's got his pin. He's able to move this stuff around easily. It looks like there might be some chickens outside. I don't know what that is, but obviously this stuff is already broken down a lot more. It's turning black, getting that nice organic matter added to it. And I think that he piled that one up, and the chickens will just tear that back down. They'll continue going through it, but obviously they're more interested in the one right there with the watermelons. And then what would happen is this would rot down, and then he would flip it over. And I think that there's probably a better way to do that. I think that what I would do in this case, and this would just be for my system. It may not be better for Bryce's system, but I would just make that where I could just take that wire netting off and just spread it. Or just let the chickens really spread it. Like after it's piled up like that, just let them go to town. And yeah, I think that's a really good way to go. I've got more photos and things that we've got for this system, but this is one of the easiest systems I've ever seen. Oh, I need to add a photo of what some of the finished looks like. Pictures are really small on my computer, so give me a second. So we'll add this one, and we'll add one more. That looks like what I'm looking for, but we'll see when it gets bigger. Okay, so here's an idea of how that works. You see how they've got access to pasture. So they're able to go in here. He's able to move everything very easily. He can fence them out of the new garden space, and he can mulch it around, have them go around trees. You can see they're stripping the land bare, which is exactly what we want in this scenario. So we want them to strip the land bare of weed seeds and all of that stuff. And then what he said is that he would just have plants. Okay, this is not what I was going for. He's got a video. Let me see. Remove before I pull the video up. Oh, yeah, I need to turn my fan on. If the fan gets really loud, you guys just let me know. But my computer will absolutely get hot if I start doing a ton of streaming, and then it'll start freezing. And all right, so video file. Let's see what we got here. He had one that was showing a ton of tomatoes. Let's just see if this is it. So give it a second to load. And
all right, pile is gone. Some of them still scratching around for worms down there, but there we have it. Somewhere between, I don't know, 1.5 and 2 cubic yards. It's about up to my waist,
man, that
and
makes me miss my
probably
chickens.
5 to 6 feet in diameter. As you can see, they're already starting to get to work on it, tearing it up.
This is not the video I wanted. You guys are gonna see everything before I.
Always be composting. Much love.
All right, let's see. Let me just find it here real quick. So he's got one where he shows specifically like Kosovo tomatoes, which are my favorite tomato variety, and well, see, I would have picked that video, and that would not have been the right one either. Wait, hold on. Hold on, this one might be it. Nope, that is not it. I swear, guys, I'm going to find it. Just give me a second. He gave me a bunch of short videos. Maybe it was one of the early videos then. Give me a second. I know this is boring, just watching me go through videos. All right, I'm going to do one more. If I can't find it, I want to show you, and then well, you guys will have to wait till the video. If I can't find it there, then it'll be oh well. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Haha! Found it. Of course, it would be the very last one. All right, so here's this one.
So I just flipped what was in here, about 2 cubic yards of compost, about halfway decomposed. As you can see, they've already torn it down pretty good. It was about 5 to 6 feet wide, but 3 feet tall. Turned all that, another few cubic yards. And there's
the garden.
Is a tomato trellis, which I just now planted with Kosovo tomatoes, courtesy of the Reed family over at Mossy Creek Mushrooms. They're kind enough to share their prized genetics with me. I'm excited to see how it goes.
That is my favorite tomato plant, Kosovos.
As you can see, these ladies grubbing.
But yeah, there we go. That was his garden, in part. Now, obviously, that was either early in the season or it looked early rather than late. Now, unfortunately, he's not doing this system anymore. Bears got in and killed all his chickens, so all those ladies are gone now, which sucks. And he's not willing to shoot the bear to get rid of it since he's in its space. So he is working on other ways to work with it. I have a Noki White LC from the Mycelium Emporium. I don't know much about that strain. I think I have it in my library, but I don't really do anything with it. I do have a commercial white that it may even be the same commercial white that Mycelium Emporium may have gotten that from Jake Howard. It's the same person I got that from. If that's the case, white needs more cold than the golden varieties. The wild varieties tend to do a lot better with the warmer temperatures. Hey, Andrew, hope you're well. Sorry, I've not been on for a while. Life has been crazy busy in the mushroom. No, man. You stay busy. I would rather be busy. Busy's good. Busy is, well, I hope busy is good. Busy can often mean good. For grain spawn is 1,000 grams. Well, we're going to have to translate that into real numbers. But oops. For grains is spawn is 2-to-1 grain. Okay. Grain to water by mass to good ratio. 2-to-1 grain to water? Yeah, because by weight, not not mass. 2-to-1 is going to be good because you want 50% hydration. No, wait, that's not right. That's not right at all. No, you want a 1-to-1 by weight. 2.5 pounds of grain, 2.5 pounds of water makes a 5-pound block at 50%. Moisture content roughly. Obviously the grains are going to have some moisture in them, so it's going to be a little higher than that. And you can work to do a water content test by taking the grain, weighing it. Like I take 100 grams of grain, weigh it, microwave it for 30 seconds, weigh it again, microwave it for 30 seconds, weigh it again. And then when it stops losing weight, you know that you have reached dry weight. That said, I don't really concern myself with it. I just put 50-50 together and it works great. So, what's up, Myco Nerd? I'm looking forward to taking more of the online classes this year. The last 2 were awesome. Any chance you have a discount code for previous students? I can't quite afford the full season pass. If you've taken 2 classes with me already, message me. I'll get you a code made up. We haven't been offering any codes right now, but if there's like a specific class that you want, you're not wanting the whole class pass or anything like that, I'll get you a small discount. It won't be quite the steep one that the class pass is, but I can get you a discount code for taking the class before. Absolutely. So just going back to the Enoki there real quick. The white Enoki is much more finicky. And the interesting thing to me is the white was actually, a lot of people don't know why the white Enoki was bred. I have a book over here that was written by one of the guys who was involved in the project, and he actually discusses that they, back in the 80s, I guess it was it 70s or 80s, that they wanted, basically, they call Enoki velvet foot because as the Enoki matures, it gets a velvety foot at the base of the stem. And that's one of the ways that you know that the mushrooms are older, right, on these golden Enokis. So what they wanted, this company wanted a way to sell people Enoki mushrooms where they couldn't tell the age so clearly. And so they were able to sell them older mushrooms for the same price because they were white. And then, of course, white took on its own to where every farm then eventually started using it. Even though I love white Enoki, it's fantastic. Golden Enoki is easier to grow most of the time. Tends to, for me, yield a little bit heavier, but they kind of is strain dependent and substrate dependent and temperature dependent. But the golden Enoki tastes better, in my opinion. So, it tastes better, but it is going to show its age when it's aged. When it has aged. Any tips for Pio Pino, please? Just start growing them. And substrate blocks are about 5 days off being fully colonized thanks to those ants. Yeah, so banding is what I've seen most people move into. So and it's with really, really good results. I oftentimes just let my black poplar start to pin in the bag, and then I cut the top off and I just let it finish that way. Just below the seal, and let the mushrooms grow up and then flatten out at the top, and then we just reach in the side and grab them. But what I've started seeing a lot of people do is to take the bags, and whenever they're about ready to start fruiting, they take these rubber bands and stretch them over the bag and stretch them like you've got the block and then you've got the empty space, right? The head space in the bag. You want to take that band and band around the top of the substrate. And what this does is it cuts off air to the rest of the block. A really good example of this, because I don't have any examples I can show right this second. A really good example of this would be to go Myers Mushrooms. I think on his Facebook page where he was showing it was Maitake. Samantha, do you know if that's where was Myers showing his Maitake blocks on Facebook? His Facebook? Okay, I think it was his Facebook page. Probably his Instagram page too. So I think you're on Instagram. So either way, I would check out Myers's Maitake video that he just recently posted the past few days, that's the exact same way I'm seeing people do the black poplar with really, really good results. Have you seen folks use steam pasteurizers for grain spawn? It would be super nice if my fruiting and spawn blocks are interchangeable. So I have. You can't go very far. So like in a pinch, I've used the fruiting block to make more fruiting blocks, but I would never use it for anything other than end use because of the pasteurization. You can get it fairly clean. It's much easier to get sawdust clean than it is grain. So you can go full on sawdust, inoculate it with a sterilized grain master, and make up a few. So like every run, if you put 10 5-pound sawdust blocks in there, then you inoculate those as part of your fruiting block run. You can use those as end use spawn. So that is something you can do. That said, it's not going to be interchangeable that way because you don't want to supplement it and use it as spawn a lot of times. So it's not the best way to go, but you can do it. You can absolutely do it. And depending on how clean your technique is and everything else, it's going to be the easiest way to go, in my opinion. So, but, I only have a 150 liter autoclave. I could run my entire farm off of it if I needed to. Like if I wanted to get back into full production, but I would have to run that thing hard. So I'd really rather have one of the 300 liters or something like that. If that's that would be a good way to go there. Thanks, buddy. Much appreciated. Love to the family. Absolutely. You're very welcome. Glad I could help. Piapino is one of those that is easy to grow and then kind of hard to master for a lot of people. But I consider it one of the most premier. And I want to try that method with our Fat Man. I have never seen anyone try it with our Fat Man Piapino or black poplar, and I think that's a good way to get way better yields. Because that is the problem. The Fat Man is the superior eating mushroom between all of the black poplar strains I've seen, but it is the most finicky. So that's something I'm definitely working on. It's unique, but can you run your super spawn recipe through a pasteurizer, or do you need an autoclave? You can run it through a pasteurizer, but again, you wouldn't want that to be. You wouldn't want to go to spawn to spawn to spawn. What I would probably do is pressure cook some grain masters, make up a super spawn or sawdust block that you can run through your pasteurizer as end-use spawn. So when I mean end-use spawn is the spawn that's going to go into your fruiting blocks. So you make a grain master, and you can inoculate, 10 sawdust blocks easy with this grain master, and even a few fruiting blocks after that. And then you've got these 10 sitting here growing in that I could use for fruiting block inoculation. That said, it's obviously not going to be as clean as autoclave spawn. So what I would do is, yes, I would stop it at end use, and I would over inoculate it with grain. So meaning I would come in, and instead of just sprinkling a little bit in, I would put, a cup of grain spawn in this thing or something like that. Just sit there and pour in quite a bit, mix it in, and then it's going to be kind of hot, if you put a lot in there. So you want to make sure it's in a good cool spot so that the block doesn't overheat. But you want it to grow in fast so that the contamination doesn't have a good use for it. Fat Man, the Fat Man Piapino, it's one of my strains. It is I think it's a different species than the other Piapinos, the other black poplars. I always prefer black poplar over Piapino, but the Fat Man, we have Fat Man and Little Boy, named after the atomic bombs that were where the uranium was enriched in this area. So it's kind of a nod to my family history. My family worked on the Manhattan Project. But we had those two where it was like, one was kind of taller and skinnier, and one was, shorter and fatter. And we're like, Little Boy, Black Poplar, and the Fat Man, the Black Poplar. So yeah, that's the Fat Man. It's a dense. It's got big stems, and those stems are worth eating. Unlike a lot of black poplar, I feel like the stems are too stringy or whatnot. I'm not sure why, but some folks promote 2-to-1 grain to water ratio for NSNS millet spawn. Would explain why pink oysters things one column. That just sounds like too much water to me. And millet, I don't like millet. I really, really, really dislike millet as a grain. Just in general, it's just not my favorite. I mean, I don't judge people who use it because I understand the small inoculation points is the point of it, not necessarily the nutritional value. But millet to me is just always kind of finicky. So then we'll have to put in an order, assuming you ship. We do ship to the UK. Yep, you should be able to just do it straight through the website. Make sure when you're looking at the shipping options, for some reason, our plugin will not let us put the cheapest option as default. It's almost always the most expensive, especially on international. So just look at the bottom of the list on the shipping. You shouldn't have any problem. If you do, let me know. We can send you a manual invoice. But the manual invoice, you'll have to agree to the terms and conditions that we have on the website to get the order after the manual invoice. But we can do a manual PayPal invoice if we need to. But yeah, we've shipped to the UK a fair amount. Though you might want to send an email to Samantha and ask her, because I know that certain countries have had problems in the most recent political climate. Some places give us no problems, and then some places that we've historically shipped to just fine are all of a sudden starting to snub their nose or try to charge fees with the tariffs. You're very welcome. I was looking to create 5-pound blocks of your super spawn that would be cooked in a pasteurizer and inoculated with liquid culture. Heard you mention 100 to 150 milliliters. Yeah, that's probably a good way to go. If you you could bump that up if you wanted to. You can do it in pasteurized, ultra pasteurized. You want it to be really, really good and cooked. So, because liquid culture to fruiting blocks, you want to make sure those blocks are clean. Otherwise, they're just going to contaminate. But you can always bump up the amount of liquid culture and lower your water content when making it, so that it doesn't become soupy. And you want to make sure you put in enough water that the bag does steam cook. You want enough water because that water helps move the heat around where it needs to go. And then from there, if you have just enough in there to steam the bag, and then you add the rest as liquid culture, it'll grow in faster and easier. So that's something that you might consider, but just keep in mind that it's solid substrate transfers or solid media transfers or whatever, like grain to grain, grain to sawdust, that kind of thing, are oftentimes going to be a little easier to keep clean than the LC to anything. So you want to make sure that your game is good to when you get into the liquid culture. It's way easier than it used to be. I'm not trying to scare you off by any means, because I do think that liquid spawn is the way to go. I think it's going to be the way we do things in the future. I have a bunch of stale two-row malted barley I never used for beer brewing. Can I use malted barley like oats in your super spawn? Never seen barley used in mushroom growing. You can use barley grain if it's malted already. I don't know. I would imagine that would be very similar to using sweet feed, which has got molasses in it. So I imagine that would be very similar to the sweet feeds. I would need to look up the chemical composition, basically, or not the nutritional composition of the malted barley, because I know it turns starches into the sugars through saccharification. So I don't know. I would test it. I would just run it and find out. How can you reduce condensation when making Petri agar and no Portec? I don't really concern myself with it. If you have heavy condensation when you're doing your work at your table, you can just take it and then just tap the plate and fling the water off, and then you don't have condensation anymore. So I don't really know. I don't really get bent out of shape about it. I know a lot of people really concern themselves with it, but A lot of people say that your condensation will drip and it'll spread contamination around. It's true if your plate's already contaminated, but if that's the case, then I wouldn't worry about it because I wouldn't use that plate. It's already contaminated. But if it is a concern to you, leaving your stacks higher. I know people that put jars of hot water on the top and let it all cool, and that's supposed to reduce the condensation. But I know some people that leave their plates out to cool for a little extra long time so that the plate's dry or the lid's dry. I just don't concern myself with it. We just pour and go. I don't think Samantha does anything extra, and I think she's where she can't hear me. So, hey babe, can you hear me? Okay. Nope, she can't. Yeah, I would just test it. For sure. I just can't see. So do you mean like after it's been inoculated, so that you can't just because if you're getting condensation afterwards, then what you've got is the mycelium respirating, and then you got some cool. But what I do is I would turn the plates upside down. Once the plate's inoculated with agar or whatever, you can turn it upside down. Once the liquid culture starts to grow in, you can turn it upside down and it works. Yeah, baby. No, I want 3 of them. The 3 of them that I've left out for you are what I want. Each one gets a stir bar in it, and then you're going to put 80 grams of liquid culture premix in each one of those. The 1-inch stir bars. You can throw those big ass stir bars away. Any suggestions on how to speed up spawn dosing? Dumping from bags is always inconsistent for me and always make a mess. So I don't care about the inconsistency. I just kind of pour and I just kind of learn to eyeball it. I don't like spoons and all that kind of stuff. I feel like it's just scoops, measuring cups. I feel like it's just even if you sterilize those, it's another thing that you're sitting there scooping out multiple times, setting down, touching, whatever. You've got your hand going near the bag and all that kind of stuff. Huh? I want you use tap water. I use tap water in my liquid culture. Looks like somebody's already poured out of that. Oh. So I will say that old Ben Hameen over at Manowar just showed me a spawn dosing system that he's been able to 3D print. And I'm not sure if it's electric or pneumatic. I'll have to look. But the idea is to be able to open a bag, put it under the spawn doser. They're cracking the bag cracker that squeezes the bag so that you don't have to sit there and push those bricks anymore. That will crack the block open, and then the spawn dosing doses into that, and then it's easy to mix up afterwards. It's easy to throw into their bag shaker. By the way, bag shaker, the most underutilized and undersold or underhyped product they have, in my opinion. I love the Thor stir plates. They're amazing. But I love that bag shaker. I don't know why people aren't jump. I do know people that have jumped on it and are loving it, but I freaking love our bag shaker. But I think that's going to be the fastest way. Also, shaking, there's that liquid spawn is a good way to go. If you can, because liquid spawn can be inoculated in a few different ways, but it's much easier to move liquid in a dosing system than it is to move solids like spawn and stuff a lot of times. Liquid spawn, does that mean it's added directly to the substrate and bypasses the grain stage? Yes, that is exactly what it is. Not heard of it here in the UK. I'm sure somebody probably does it, but it's done primarily in Asia. I know a lot of people that do it in Germany. Pilzform is one place that does it. They add like a sawdust to their liquid culture, and then they sell mass liquid culture, I think, to farms for the shiitake inoculations. Certain organisms do it better than others. So in my experience, the organisms that do the best from liquid culture to bulk, so via liquid spawn, is shiitake, enoki, lion's mane. Those are the 3 easiest to just liquid dose straight to sawdust. Then you have oysters, and a lot of oysters will take just fine. Oyster will sometimes just not take, though. And though I find that changes with the addition of grain. If you add whole grain to your oh, it's the cat going out the door. I wondered why the doors usually if somebody opens this door, these doors swing, and it was the cats just squeezing through. Anyways, oysters, if you have grain in your substrate, it takes a lot easier. So they like that. Though I have inoculated straight just supplemented sawdust, and it works really well. Hydrated and steamed, autoclaved, rather. But it's if you've got good liquid culture systems, you can really produce a lot of liquid spawn that way. Yeah, baby. You're wanting not you want 80 grams of liquid culture premix. You're right there. You've got 12,000 what? Come here, Smithy. Come here. Okay, you're gonna need those 3, and you're gonna have 20 grams left over because these are 100 grams, right? You only need 80. Love you. 4,000 milliliters of water. She's setting up our 5-liter aerated systems. We're now making so many 3 a week right now. It's about to go to 4, and that is our that's our liquid spawn system that we're working on. Got to try the knock thing. Yep, absolutely. It just works. Just a little knock, sling the water out. That's if if the dish is open while you're at the plate, or that the if you've got the plate open at the flow hood. I sterilize with agar and petri dish. When I take it out, it has condensation. Oh yeah, that's definitely gonna be a thing. If it's you using glass, then you're supposed to be using glass. Yeah, baby. What? Nothing. You're just doing it in here? Okay. Gotcha. So, but yeah, if you must be using glass. I wouldn't knock too hard then. If you're using plastic, well, you can't be using polyethylene because polyethylene you wouldn't be able to cook that in a pressure cooker. Just bought a bag of sweet feed with 12% protein. Can you explain how to calculate how much to use with hardwood pellets for a 10-pound block? Yeah, so you want that down to about 5 to 6%, 4.5 to 6%. So you just cut that in half. You can do a 50-50. So for a 10-pound block, hydrated to 60%, I would do 2 pounds sawdust pellets, 2 pounds of the sweet feed to get it down to about 6%, and then 6 pounds water, and that should be a 60% hydration block. That's pretty easy. Now, if you're wanting, down to 4.5%, it takes a little bit more math. But you take your 4 pounds. Let's see, 4 pounds. You had to ask me. You realize that I have a mathematical learning disability. I was way down in the math. Okay, so you want 12% of, but you want it down to 4.5%. The ratios for that would be, let me think for a sec. I'm not gonna be able to do that in my head. I should be able to do it in my head, but I'm not gonna be able to do that in my head. Hold on a second. Here's the easy way. You want to see the easy way? Actually, I don't want to show you some of these modules. You can go to an AI and ask it. But if you don't want to, you can ask Google. Google will tell you a lot too. Give me 1 second to find this. Where is this? So I have sweet feed at 12%, and I want to take it down to 4.5%, but I want my total weight to be 4 pounds. Bam, there you go. Give me just 1 second. Alrighty, so we're gonna do that. Hey, you have a 4 pound total at 4.5%, starting from 12% sweet feed diluted with something that's effectively 0% protein, which would be our sawdust. Protein needed total would be 0.18 pounds of protein. Sweet feed provides 12% times sweet feed pounds equals 0.18. So it looks like you're wanting 2.5 pounds of sawdust, 1.5 pounds of sweet feed for a total of 4 pounds at 4.5%. So I am perfectly willing to admit, yes, that's true. That's very, very true. It would be much easier. But I mean, I'm perfectly willing to admit that my weakness is math. I am absolutely, it takes me a lot longer to do math than it does most people. I have a very difficult time doing it in my head. I can visualize incredibly complex things in my head, but math is not one of them. Are there any strains you would avoid using sweet feed for? Not so far, but to be fair, I've not tried like shiitake on sweet feed or anything like that. So the oysters love it. Enoki seems to like it. Lion's Mane's not had a problem with it. I will say, so cattle cubes at 20% protein, I really hoped they would do well. They did not do well at all. Our commodity feed did okay, but I think there may have been too much salt in it. There was a lot of mineral salt in the commodity feed that I was able to get. So it did work. And certain things like oysters didn't just shrugged it off, but like enoki did not do super well on the commodity feed that we have here locally. It did do well on the sweet feed, but I've not tried shiitake. I've not tried, black poplar. There's a lot of things I've not tried sweet feed on yet. So, do you have a video, etc., on how to make it, please? How to make what? I.e., how to turn LLC into liquid swan? Yes. I think it's like the thumbnail says this changes everything. And I think it's got a syringe going down into substrate with like mycelium lines coming off of it. It's a t-shirt that we actually had. I need to get on the website and get the merch store back up because it's a really badass t-shirt. So is our Bioprospectors t-shirt. I'd like to get that one back up there as well. But I think it's something like Liquiculture Direct to Bulk is the title. It's 2 or 3 years ago, I'd say. I have an update one as well after that, but I don't remember the title on that one. I'm not showing right now how I'm currently doing it. The way we're currently setting things up is my liquid spawn system, literally to mass produce more grain spawn. Or not grain spawn, but the super spawn. And so I'm not actually, I'll share anything that I've got before that, but I'm not showing all the pieces put together. I'm getting a little bit of a jitter on stream there. Looks like there it goes. It smoothed out. And I appreciate you looking out for me. Mother. I have a math brain. My son's math brain is far more advanced than mine. He remembers the first 100. Oh my god, no! What are the numbers of pi? 3 point something. I remember the first number. That's about it. I do not have a math brain. Teddy, what are you doing? Go find Mama. Don't you do that on camera. What are you doing? He started to try to drag. I originally was talking a lot of trash about AI because of the amount of fresh water it's using, but it's hard to resist having not to think so hard about things. So the way I look at it is AI, there's a good use of AI and there's a bad use of AI. If you use AI to offload some of the cognitive calculations, basically, to free up yourself to do more, then I think that's a good use. If you are using it to replace you completely and then not reinvesting in yourself, or like if I'm at free up more time, I should use that to invest in myself. I feel like I should not necessarily just try to have AI do everything for me and now I become completely useless. And I think that's the big danger is a lot of people just offload all cognitive ability rather than a cognitive enhancement kind of thing. So, because I too, like, I've got this weird duality where I am like halfway terrified of AI and then halfway incredibly excited about it. Like, I've got this duality that's going on about it. I think that there's some things that could be really bad for society, but we've already, especially the United States, I'm hoping other places as well. But my experience here in the States is that here in my locale is that people already kind of sink to the lowest energy usage state. And not everybody likes to challenge themselves, make themselves uncomfortable, live in weird ways, do things that have cost, or by choice. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people, like some people, there are people who will just work because it makes them better. And then there are people who, if they could get away with it, they would never work. They would just live in the garden of endless delights. And I don't think I'm the endless delights kind of person. I do like my delights, don't get me wrong. I love my food and my comforts and all that kind of stuff. But I also like living a weird lifestyle. I like thinking about future things. I'm insanely curious, and that curiosity must be fed, that kind of thing. So it's kind of for me, it's I don't feel like it's as much of a danger. The way I kind of look at it is there's a couple of different things here in our society today that are about our society that are dehumanizing-ish, but also incredibly freeing. And that is, if you look at like our capitalist system, right, that we live in, a lot of times I feel like one of the big divides between people who love capitalism and don't love it is that the capitalists expect you to take personal responsibility for your happiness, right? For your pursuit of happiness. And then there are people who say, well, no, I shouldn't have to negotiate my way. You should just treat me fairly. And I think that that's a common split. I think that AI can kind of give us the same kind of choice pathway of I can give up total freedom to it and live a lot easier, right? But the other side of this too is that I can take personal responsibility for my own life satisfaction, for my own pathway, my own pursuits of things. I should be in pursuit, right? That's the thing, is we have the right to pursue all these things. I feel like that's kind of the duality. I feel like is that, retirement is another thing in our system. I feel like the days of the corporations or whatever providing you a retirement, Gramps used to talk about working for American Inca and how that place was great. Like you need a car to get to work. We got a bank loan officer right here and he will help you get that car. You don't have a telephone at home? Well, all of our employees, we should be able to contact them. So why don't we pay to make sure that there's a telephone line put down your way? There was all this like, oh, you need a retirement? Here's a livable retirement. There's all this kind of stuff out. And then they got bought out by BASF. BASF ended up trying to, pull a lot of that retirement stuff, get people to retire early. The same thing that usually happens in buyouts. But if you're the kind of person who takes responsibility for your own retirement, you don't need anyone to give it to you, right? You got to work on it. So I need to do a better job of guiding my own retirement, and I need to take personal accountability and responsibility for that. So do what? Non-negotiable. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on AI. I won't stay on it too much longer. Been using groats. Groats. What are groats again? With hardwood fuel pellets, 50-50 masters mix with added gypsum. Seen a vid with a commercial grower using this for grain spawn and substrate. Can get this thing's cheap here. Soy hull's not available. Who would have been using groats 50-50 like that? I mean, I use oats and hardwood fuel pellets, and I put a video out there about it. And then I use that for grain spawn and substrate now. So I would be interested in who else is doing that. I know David Medlock out of our Discord. I actually was like, hey, I came up with this spawn system. And he was like, hey, check my post from this point. And I was like, oh, you came up with it first and you dubbed it Super Spawn. So that's its name. Like you beat me to it. Convergent evolution happening again. I know how to program a website completely from scratch, but I recently used AI to build an entire website with a backend with the PHP language. It built it faster and better than I. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's certain jobs that are just, they're just kind of gone. Like especially a lot of these entry-level stuff, like entry-level lawyers and that kind of stuff. I just would not count on having those. But things like agriculture, agriculture is going to be heavily automated, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that is just not easily automatable quickly. Some things will be, and some things will not. I cannot wait for the day for my Tesla bots, right? Or Optimists or whatever they call it. But I mean, this is something I come out with. People a year ago were laughing at AI, like, see, people think it's going to take over, but it can't even do this. Well, it can't do that yet, and it's doing it quick, and it's learning faster and faster and faster. So, yeah, it'll be what it'll be. We'll see. But I think that the AI is going to learn a lot more than we think it will. What? And Tennessee's going full bore in it. Yeah, in fact, up there where same place where they built the atomic bombs and have done others top secret research, they're putting in an AI center. They're actually super cool because they're building their own power plant so as not to overload our system and make our electric prices go up crazy. Thankfully, we got TVA and the nuclear plant here anyways that can produce a ton of power. So we're lucky to have the cheapest electricity like in the nation almost. We'll see how it holds up during the snowpocalypse. It's good to add active dry yeast before sterilization, cheaper than peptone. You can use either one. If you're going to use nutritional yeast, I would use more. So, just a little bit more. Nutritional yeast does not dissolve as well. So if you don't I don't mind slurries. To me, I like slurries. I don't like crystal clear liquid culture. It means there's nothing in it. So I don't mind having a little bit of cloudy stuff in it, and nutritional yeast will work. It is a little slower to be processed by the mycelium as well, but the mycelium, you'll see it'll just grab it up and hold on to it. Would it be profitable to start a small compost farm using old blocks that I already sold mushrooms from? I guess I could sell the eggs too. You talking about that system we were talking about? I think it's a great market garden setup. My personal favorite idea of the future of mushrooms is market gardeners who use mushrooms as kind of the first cash crop in their system. And then, like, if I want to grow peppers, I can do, which I do. I do a lot of peppers. Oh, yeah, we need to do our seeds. I am almost a month late on starting my pepper plants. Crap. Anyways, that may be a video next week. Since I'm like a week behind, I might try to do 2 and one of them peppers. But the idea for me would be like mushroom blocks. So you make mushroom blocks, you grow the mushrooms out, you sell the mushrooms, bam, your bills are paid for the month. You have your spent substrate goes into your chickens, your quail, whatever. They're scratching through the food scraps, eating the worms and the larvae and everything else. In fact, I wonder if it would be good to make these piles and give them a few days to kind of cook and ferment a little bit and then give the chickens access. But maybe it's better just to give them fresh. I'm just sitting there thinking I want a lot of good grubs in there. They probably get enough good grubs as it is. You can use my phone if you want to take photos and stuff too as well. You can use yours. I don't mind. So anyways, you have eggs that come from that. So now you got mushrooms and eggs. And boy, mushroom egg bake is so good. Then you have meat, of course, that you can get. Then you have produce, because now you have all of this nice composted material, and you can just let plants spring forth from it, or you can do transplants directly into it. And I like to mulch around my plants, like a little bit of cardboard down to just help suppress things. Yeah, I mean, it works. Like now you've got your produce coming in, and I imagine you could do zucchini and cucumbers and everything. My phone's over there on the power bank. So she's putting together these 5-liter vessels. So we'll show a little bit about them, but I'm not going to show much because, again, it's my secret weapon. No. But I think it's a great way. So now you have this entire market garden system, because here's the big thing. People keep forgetting. Your mushroom farm runs on profit, right? So you can run your weekly mushroom business and grow 1,000 pounds a week. And, it's not bad work. It's not bad work at all. You get to work in the air conditioning a lot of times. It's just not bad work. And then you could just do mushrooms and be a mushroom specialist for sure. I don't think that's the age that we're entering into. I think the day of the specialist, this, is kind of faltering a little bit. The mediocre. If you haven't read the Venkatesh Rao on the Ribbon Farm website, he's got an article called Mediocre, and it's a great one. And it kind of talks about those organisms that survive upheaval. And the idea is that, the dinosaurs didn't survive. They were specialists so much. But what did survive? The avian dinosaurs. And at that stage, they were what? A lump of meat with some okay enough wings that eventually became the hugely specialized group that we see now. So generalists are what, I think that we're being selected for. That's the selective pressure now. If you look at the economy, it's going to be the generalists, I think, that is going into this. But so I would rather see 5 market gardeners, each producing 200 pounds of mushrooms a week, and then each one using that to fuel the other steps of their system. Again, it could be eggs, but it doesn't have to be eggs. I use black soldier fly larvae and mealworms. You can use red wrigglers. There are other transformative systems, but this one with the eggs, you could have eggs. You could use ducks, though ducks don't scratch as well, but they do produce nice wetland systems, and you can use all of that organic matter like I do for these marsh ponds. You could use that in conjunction with your ducks. And ducks love mushrooms. I found that out very quickly. Ducks love mushrooms. Chickens do too, it seems like. Geese do too. I didn't think geese would, because geese only eat grass. But so you've got this whole process that can be done. I would rather see to get 1,000 pounds a week produced in an area. I would rather see 5 market growers, because here's the thing: your costs are your inputs. So each one of those farms has these inputs that comes in, but now one's growing more tomatoes, one's growing more peppers, zucchini. They have their CSAs. They're all able to tailor it to their own systems or needs. But everything after the mushrooms is almost pure profit. Because you're not buying fertilizers. You're not doing, especially if you're doing this chicken system or some way of weed control. You are, especially a biological weed control is what I mean. You have a system that just builds on itself. It's a self-feedback loop in a positive direction. And you can increase the amount of mushrooms you grow. And a system I'm excited about is mushrooms spit substrate to So mushrooms profit. Spent substrate to black soldier fly larvae. Sift black soldier fly larvae. Sell that to chicken growers. Sell that at market to people. Dehydrate them. Whatever you got to do. Whatever you want. Or bank them and then grow cordyceps on those black soldier fly larvae. Now you've got a cordyceps food, which is profit. So you can profit off the bugs. You can profit off the bugs in a roundabout way by growing the cordyceps. And then the only thing is, I don't know that I would throw leftover cordyceps stuff, substrate into my composter, my bug system, because you would probably infect your entire bug system that way. So you gotta be careful about your little food web. But we're basically building an ecology garden, right? A garden of ecology. And everything allows, nature doesn't see waste, so it sees opportunity. And if we take this and we're able to mix this almost into like a industrial permaculture or a where we have inputs coming in, you can do this with logs. Logs work too, but logs take a lot longer to break down. But like you can do logs, and then you spent logs as hugelkultur. You can use them to grow grubs. The chickens will scratch them apart. I've got a story in the video tomorrow. I'll just go ahead and tell you guys because I won't ruin it for very many people. But I knew a guy who grew shiitake logs for like 2 years, and on the second year, wild hogs came up on his farm and ate the logs. I don't even mean they ate the mushrooms off the logs. They did off the fresh logs, but they straight up ate the myceliated logs. So potential pig feed there, and it makes me wonder what spent blocks might do. Like, would pigs like that with leftover? Because soy hulls are typically used for pig feed. So could you use mushrooms as a pig feed? Like not just mushrooms, but the spent substrate. And then that allows, you dump your blocks into pig pasture. So there's just multiple ways that we get to accomplish this method. And so if you've got a bunch of people doing it and feeding their own system, and they get to pay their bills first on the mushrooms, but then each step feeds itself and grows the next step, that just seems to me to be the better system. It seems to me to be the better, the most money for the least work, but also the most pleasant farm setup. Like, I personally, I love mushrooms. I hate the noise of the air compressor. Hate it. Absolutely hate it. I would love it if I never had to use an air compressor again. But if I get to minimize that, and only use it, I don't have to live in it or something like that. There's, I don't know. It's just, there seems to me to be a colloquial way. Colloquial, that's not the right word. I don't know. There just seems to be a more aesthetic way to do it. That's the kind of farm someone can come to. You can bring people to, and you can be like, see how we do it. It reminds me of those, what do they call them? The pasture raised cowboys. They're on YouTube. Great channel, but talks basically about rotational grazing. What we're talking about here is almost a rotational grazing of microbes, insects, and plants working together. You can add the animal kingdom. We're bringing all the same kingdoms into, but instead of a pasture, we're getting to focus on the mushroom growth. Though I know people who have taken spent blocks, put them in a manure spreader, like dump them into a manure spreader, and then spread them in their fields, and their fields for pasture did incredibly well with that addition of organic matter. So I can imagine like a combination method where you're using rotational grazing to basically a rotational grazing system where you're using the cows to transfer the grass into organic matter via manure. And then you got your chickens that come in, like Joel Salatin will do, cows, sheep, chickens, something like that, some method like that. And then you could even add further mushroom blocks. And I think that you could probably just toss mushroom blocks out there and allow the chickens to break them down, or because they'll scratch them apart. Cows will step on them, that kind of thing. But it adds you can jumpstart the organic matter cycle using that. And like every permaculture method there is, or every system that I'm really concerned with when it comes to these kinds of things, like the rotational grazing, is that allows you to have an input, but then it allows you to take that input and run it through the entire length of the ecosystem to make everything better and reduce your workload. That's the real goal for me with like permaculture. Large part of the longevity is, creating abundance, storing that abundance in the form of wealth, energy, water capture, whatever, but then allowing, like, basically kickstarting off the system that allows us to grow on its own. One of the interesting things for me here recently was Tree of Heaven. Tree of Heaven seen as a big pest in this area, and people try to cut it down. They just come through with big machines and mow it down. And I've got this little electric chainsaw. You can go out there and you can cut those things down. They are small. The first year or two, they just grow straight poles, straight spars. You take those, you cut them down, you run them through a cheap electric chipper shredder off of Amazon, and then you bag that stuff up. You can steam it right away. If it's fresh, a lot of times you don't have to steam it, but I would still steam it. And then you just add a little bit of liquid culture, add some spawn to it. That's how we make all of our wine cap kits. But I mean, I've got enough Tree of Heaven growing behind this shop. I could probably grow mushrooms for a year off just those. Now, that's more work than buying pellets in. And to me, pellets are cheap enough that they're worth buying in. But I would prefer that system over sawdust piles, because the sawdust piles have all kinds of moisture content differences and everything else. So that, I don't know. I think it would be profitable. I think it would be insanely profitable to start a small compost farm, if nothing else for your own family. Because, I mean, what are you buying at the store? Produce, you're buying meat and eggs and all this kind of stuff. And again, I think quail could work really well in this system. So, and quail are like the easiest meat bird in the world to raise. I don't actually enjoy them for their eggs. I think that I do want to do quail again one day, but it's going to be the slower, bigger jumbos, because I am more interested in them as a meat bird because the eggs are tiny. So, but yeah, Ford lost a lot of its best help forcing people. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. So we're at this weird stage where we have an insane amount of wisdom as our society is aging out. The people that are going into retirement right now, the baby boomers, are at a retirement cliff, and they're the biggest generation, right? So we're at this demographic setup to where we're about to have a lot of wisdom leave, and a lot of entry-level jobs are knocked out by AI. You have to take personal responsibility and learn. And the AI is one of the best ways to learn. I don't think it's the best way to replace yourself. I don't think we should ever try to replace humans, but humans that are no longer doing the jobs like robots or like automation, like the way that we've taken humans off the farm, put them in factories and make them do the same task over and over again, to the point that when I worked at Walmart DC, there were literal guys who would get, the case slot throwers. They would label a box and throw it on a conveyor belt. They would literally have one arm and one leg bigger than the other, and you could see it when they were walking to break. They could literally change their bodies by this repetitive motion. Now, I worked with people who switched hands, and didn't have that build up, but they were taking personal responsibility for that. Nobody forced them to do that. So we're losing entry-level learning advantage jobs, and we're having our wisest age out. There's a knowledge gap. If we can allow humans to learn, self-direct, become autodidacts through AI, then humanity gets to move into the designer-composer position, and they get to allow the AI to be generative, right? So if I allow the AI to just generate, then I, the human with human taste, built for humanity, and with humanity in mind, AI will produce a ton of products. It doesn't necessarily do it for humans. It does it for the lowest common denominator that it can get away with, right? So what we want are human editors who pick and choose the this and assemble it into a composition, a whole, and get to be the designers or even bring an idea to the AI and have it do a lot of the crunch power, but now I get to focus so much more on design. We're going to need that automation. We're going to need that automation to make up for the population aging out. We're going to have more people to take care of with fewer hands. So more mouths to feed with fewer hands to grow the food. And the average age of the farmer is in his 60s, right about retirement age. So agriculture is about to go through a huge knowledge gap. So I think Ford and a bunch of these places, they're doing what's best for the stockholders. And that is, our society is a stockholder society. You need to own the means of production, really. Stakeholder societies like Japan, they focus on what's good for the worker and everything else. And you can actually look at them as an example, I feel like, in some ways, for how you use automation to make up for an aging out population, because they've been aging out way faster than we have. Give me a second, guys. We're going to have a word from our sponsor real quick. Get you some good humidification. Hey folks, welcome to another sponsorship for the Mushroom Cast. We're always talking about dialing in your grow setup, and when it comes to humidity, there's one name we trust, House of Hydro. These foggers are an absolute game changer for mushroom cultivation. House of Hydro's ultrasonic humidifiers put out an incredibly fine, cool mist. So fine, in fact, that mycelium can actually uptake it straight from the air. That means better hydration, better growth, happier mushrooms, and better yields. And let me tell you, these things are way easier to vent around your op than setting up full-on plumbing pressure systems. No pipes, no hassle, just perfect humidity right where you need it. And when you're working with the best, you want the best support. John at House of Hydro takes care of his customers better than anyone in the game. If you ever need help, they've got you covered. And because House of Hydro is sponsoring the Mushroom Cast, we've got a deal for you. Use code MOSSY at checkout, and you'll get a full set worth of free replacement discs with your order. It's up to a $50 value. Get yourself a House of Hydro fogger. Your mushrooms will thank you. Keep spawning culture, y'all. All right. Back. Thank you for allowing me go potty. Groats are whole oats. Well, there you go, Samantha. Now we know what groats are. I did not know groats or whole oats had a different name. Shows how much I know. Is that something here in the States? I have never heard that. I'd heard of groats, I feel like, in a book or something at one point. I wonder if we're headed for Terminator AI or iRobot AI. Well, and it kind of depends. Which iRobot are you talking about? Are you talking about iRobot the movie or iRobot the books? Because I hope it's iRobot the book. There's also right there, is the robot series. Great series by Isaac Asimov. If you guys haven't read it, excuse me. One of the things that Dr. Susan Calvin talks about in iRobot, she's like one of the main characters. I think she is the main character. You could say that. But the iRobot is a collection of short stories for those of you guys who don't know. Nothing at all like the movie. Movies, I think, still probably worth watching. It's fun. Though it takes on a much more like, oh my gosh, be scared of the AI versus the iRobot. Susan Calvin talks about, Dr. Susan Calvin. Mentions, what is it? Something about the interviewer, the guy who's interviewing is only a certain age, right? And she's like, oh, so you don't remember a time when humanity faced the cosmos alone, right? Which I personally don't believe humanity faces the cosmos alone, but that's okay. Even then, it would be nice, like we ended up, like she thinks like we created robots as a way, as a friend that doesn't tire the way we do, that is stronger than us, is faster and smarter in some ways than us. But ultimately, I guess we work hand in hand. And you see that a lot more with like Danielle Steele from The Caves of Steel, which is a great, great book. What? Don't want to say? So. I love peppers as well. My favorite is California sweet bells, and for heat, I go for Tabasco. I like jalapenos for the heat. The chocolate jalapenos that I grew this past year were probably my most productive pepper, besides the shishitos. I think the shishitos are probably my favorite pepper to grow. I'm going to be doing a lot of shishitos this year, a lot. They're also one of the earliest that I have. But we're going to be doing a lot of peppers. Our main goal, like always, is genetics, right? So we've collected a fair number of peppers varieties through trade groups and whatnot. Facebook's got some wonderful trade groups on the filters. And so we're going to grow, a few plants of this and a few plants of that. And then there'll be some that we grow bulk plants that we like. So Zvarsky peppers is Samantha's favorite. You do not get a lot of peppers off those. They're kind of like bells where you get here.
Absolutely my favorite.
They're sweet. They're thick-walled. They're very much like a bell. But they're better than a bell in a lot of my opinion, at least. Like I don't know what it is. They're richer in flavor. I actually find this. I tend to like vegetable varieties from two different places in the world more than anywhere else. I like the Japanese varieties a lot of times, and I love Eastern European. So the Zvarskys from Eastern Europe, the Kosovo tomatoes from Eastern Europe. There's another pepper we like to grow. That's Lasios. Lasios are another one that's from Eastern Europe. All of these are really, really good. Don't get me wrong. I love Melrose, and Shishito is obviously Japanese. And the Japanese just have a way of getting plants to be prodigiously productive. They're little factories. I love them. So my Shishitos didn't overwinter very well, though. Did you notice that, Samantha? Like all the Shishitos just kind of crapped out when we brought them inside. Almost every single one of them died. But my jalapenos are shrugging off. Yeah, they're doing really well. The Zapotec jalapenos, I didn't even get to try them. I got so few peppers, I saved them all for seed. Which reminds me, I've got a bunch over there I need to open up and put gloves on. And the Zapotecs are interesting. I grew the Reza Macedonian peppers. They're very cool looking, but I got so few of them, again, I didn't eat them. But we tend to do that. The first year we grow a plant, we do almost all seed saving for it. And then usually within a year or two of my selection method, we've got where we go from like a small percentage of successfully germinated seeds. And successful is, I define that very specifically, as in that it has to shed the seed head by itself. If it needs help from me, first of all, it needs to survive neglect. The second is that it needs to shed that seed head. And then I'll save the seeds only from the peppers that do the best at doing that. And what this allows me to do is within a couple of years, I get like a 99% germination rate. So we have, the Shishitos are amazing. Asheville pimentos are really cool. They are tiny little plants. They do not get very big. Melrose is another incredibly productive. That's an Italian frying pepper. I love that one too. The only problem we have about Melrose is Melrose was our favorite for a long time. But as soon as we got into Zvarsky and Shishito, I went Shishito, Samantha went to Zvarsky. And we grow Melrose, but I don't know what we're going to next year because I just think like they're so thin walled and the Zvarskys taste about the same in flavor. Like they're so very flavorful, except they're thicker. So I always wonder if a Velociraptor tasted like chicken. Maybe our rodent ancestors tried some of that meat. Maybe. I think that at that stage that would have been like a little shrew creature. So it's probably meat eating. That said, dinosaur, being its own branch. So you have birds, but birds don't taste all the same. Chicken is delightful, but there are birds that I find just utterly disgusting. Though I tend to like dark meat. So I tend to be much more in the chicken thigh than the chicken breast. I would say it probably tasted more like chicken thigh than breast. So, Scott Barger, what's going on, Scott? Hold on, I will throw a block in. Block in what? Oh, for the pigs. Hey, thank you, Scott. I hope you're still on. Looks like you said that like 20 minutes ago. She thought it was a toy. Well, I don't know. Give her some time. Shiitake blocks might be the thing, though. Like that's the one I saw the pigs about was the shiitake blocks, or shiitake logs in particular. So, but I would imagine that she'll get used to it. Like eventually she'll figure it out. It's food. Just harvested and ate your little old boy piapinos and a pasta tonight. Awesome flavor and texture. Thank you very much. Got the Fat Man too, but they seem a lot slower to pin. Yes, that's way normal. Fat Man, that's what I'm saying is like Fat Man is slower. It is a less yield. It's a better eating mushroom, hands down. Like I don't think that I've ever had anyone who's got experience with all the other black poplar varieties and the Fat Man. And the Fat Man wins taste test every time. It wins the kitchen test. What is today? It's Thursday. It's Thursday because I'm doing a live stream. Yeah, I don't have to lift weights today. I was talking about putting dry yeast cheaper than nutritious yeast in grain spawn. Substrate for amino acid supplement. It'll definitely die with sterilization. If you have proper sterilization, it'll die. I don't really know the difference, to be honest, between nutritional yeast and the dry yeast. I imagine that the nutritional yeast is grown with a different feedstock to increase the nutritive value, because a lot of times, with the we'll call it seed yeast, the dry yeast, I mean, both are dried, but one's dried in such a way to preserve nutrition, and one's dried in such a way to I wouldn't put it in a unicorn bag. The only reason why we want to do that is to keep it from busting, and it's got 2 filters on it to normalize air. So and I would only cook them for an hour and a half at 121. Still here, catching on my phone at the farm. Are you at the farm? You not at the house tonight? Scott's out sleeping with the pigs. Tina kick you out of the house. Ye old stinking boot. I can't imagine many people could kick you out of a house, but I imagine Tina could. Scott has done a mentorship here years ago at this point. Plum says oink oink. It was a good one. Samantha says she'd never seen a mentorship take such pride in cleaning everything top to bottom. By Scott and Tina's facility? By Scott and Tina's facility? Oh. Yeah. Not every mentorship takes that sense of pride in cleaning. Yeah. Cleaning is one of the most important, most often overlooked aspects of mushroom farming. Of course, I think that every farm, the lean farm is a great example. My farm is in the process of a big cleanup right now. We are moving and rearranging everything, make more widely accessible teaching areas, which I did finally get to talk to Josiah about starting up the mushroom club. We're going to touch base next week on getting the local mushroom club started up here. And then he has brought in some talent to help work on the Knoxville Mushroom Festival, and I'll be involved in that. So any of you who want to come to Tennessee for the Knoxville Mushroom Festival, I think it's going to be in October. So, and who knows? It may even just be called the East Tennessee Mushroom Festival. Excuse me. Excuse me, indeed. Shoot, you guys run out of questions? Do I need to just start rambling again? Ramble on. Oh, man, I haven't listened to Led Zeppelin in a long time. I'm a very impressionable person, for those of you who don't know. And I'll have these like little ideas, or if I see a commercial, I want it. Seriously, if I see a Coca-Cola commercial, my mouth goes dry. I've had to learn a long time ago that I can't follow my feelings because my feelings are traps. At least when it comes to that, I'm highly, highly impressionable. So, I'm gonna move this stuff here real quick. Well, guys, if we don't have much going on, I might call it early tonight. I've got a snowstorm still to prepare for. So if you got questions, I'll do another. We'll do a word from a sponsor a little early. It'll give you guys some time to get some questions out there, and then we'll answer the questions if you guys have any. If you don't, then we'll end it. But question. Imagine a world where the most unique, rare, and powerful mushroom strains are preserved, studied, and shared with growers like you. That's exactly what we're building with the Mycologium, a living archive of fungal biodiversity, sourced from the wild, expanded in the lab, and made available for researchers, growers, and curious minds alike. But here's the best part. You can be a part of it. If you're a bioprospector, a forager, or just someone who loves finding cool mushrooms in the wild, you can send in your samples. If you send me in a wild mushroom and I can successfully clone it, I'll send you back a cleaned up culture of it. If you send me a culture that you've already cleaned up yourself, I'll send you one for our library, ready to grow, experiment with, or add to your collection. That's right. Culture for culture. You help expand the library, and you get something amazing in return. The goal? To preserve fungal diversity, to give people access to new genetics, and maybe, just maybe, to discover something truly groundbreaking. So if you've got an interesting mushroom, a rare find, or a strain that deserves a place in the archives, send it in. Let's build something incredible together. The Mycologium, preserving fungal biodiversity, one culture at a time. Want to learn more? Hit us up, shoot us a message, and let's keep spawning culture, y'all. Welcome back to my presence. All right. Are you guys about to catch the storm coming through? Yeah, we are. In fact, I was watching Ryan Hall, y'all. By the way, great channel. On YouTube here. Ryan Hall, y'all, basically showed a bunch of models, climate models, I think is what he calls them. I call them simulations, but basically every single one of them, he's like one day I was watching, he's like, well, it's hard to tell. The next day he's like, look, it's hard to tell, but it's gotten worse. And then he was like, every single model he runs puts us even closer and closer and closer to the worst of the ice storms. So I don't know how much snow we're going to get because, of course, it's going to depend on what the Gulf does if it pushes that cold front back. But apparently the storms have gotten bigger and it's gotten where it's going to last longer because of this push-pull. And we just continually are in, no matter where the ice area shifts, it's like it just stays right over us. It'll shift everywhere else. Like it went from Texas to further north to Oklahoma, I think, but not for us. It hits Appalachia and it just like, wham, you're going to be right here, right in the freaking middle. So, and ice is actually the worst part for us. Like what ice is way more, like people laugh, from up north and stuff about how we can't handle the snow here. It's not the snow we can't handle. It's the legitimate, like, weird mix of the roads freeze over with like 2-3 inch layers of just crystal clear ice. The power lines get heavy with all the ice build up, and it just and it happens all at once, and we don't have today it's t-shirt weather today. Tomorrow the snowstorm hits. Like that's our normal That's how we deal with storms, which is why every few years we seem to have extreme weather events like this that we're not prepared for because it only happens every so often. Again, a lot of people just take personal responsibility for their milk sandwiches and get it themselves and just recognize that the government ain't going to pull them out. They're going to have them milk sandwiches at home. So, looking at 8 to 10 inches of snow by AM Monday and a coat of ice on top. So, I've heard anything for us from 9 to 12 inches to there's some old timers around here talking 26 to 36 inches. I think the blizzard of 93, someone told me that we had 36 inches. I was not here for the blizzard of 93, so I've never experienced this in my life like this. I was in Murfreesboro, snowed out of the snowstorm. Couldn't come back home, which made me so jealous because I came back to home videos of everyone at my grandparents' house because my grandparents' house is underground or was burned and had a wood stove and everyone was getting to go out and play in the snow, and I was just like, I was snowed out. I didn't get to experience this thing that everybody kept talking about. You been running? Good. Mini split killed a compressor. Oh, that's not great. Right? Have the compressor go out on your air conditioning and heating right before a snowstorm. Hopefully you got some backup, Scott. So Colin says, be safe with snow, brother. Thanks for all you do. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys very much. We're going to go get some stuff prepared. We got some cooks to get done. If the power stays on, I will be online a lot more because my lungs can't take the outside cold, dry air anymore. So apparently I'm no longer a snow creature. Unfortunately, but it makes me sad. I've always been a winter person, more than a summer person, and now my lung scarring makes it to where I can't take the cold, dry air. So, it sucks, but I am getting better. We'll see how it goes. Aislinn and I used to, when snowstorms would happen, we'd get on our bikes and we'd always go biking out in the snowstorms. So I got plenty of pictures and videos over the years of just icy beards and stuff. But since we don't have, I won't have that option. If the internet stays on and the life support stays on, I'll probably be online a fair amount. I may even do an impromptu pepper stream or something like that because it's always good to do lab work when there's a snowstorm outside. Also, if there's a snowstorm on the Discord, we might do a screening of. We might sit down around and watch The Thing together or something like that. John Carpenter's The Thing. I don't know. Maybe I can maybe Aislinn will watch it with me. I don't think she's ever watched it with me. John Carpenter's The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing. It's about these guys that are up in an Arctic station and bad stuff starts happening. Have you seen it with me? When what? When you were younger? Yeah, probably. You remember the dog? There was a dog with him.
Was it a white dog?
White and black. It was like a husky.
Yeah, it was like I remember a big white dog.
I don't know. We may be thinking the same thing. Maybe not. Oh, Aislinn's my movie buddy.
He had like a big tent.
No, I don't think he had a tent at all. No, they were at an Arctic science station or something.
So like a big. Oh, that. Yeah.
Kind of a scary movie. You do remember? Okay. Yeah. So Aislinn's my movie buddy. She's the one that seems to be the most interested in older films and stuff like that, which we need. I'd completely forgotten. We need to finish Frankenstein, the new one, because we only got halfway through that. Anyways, I don't know. It's a good time to watch, like, put on John Carpenter's The Thing and get into the lab work. And what I love to do when it's super cold and it's snowstormy outside is to turn on the lab autoclave and just cook stuff, right? You might as well. Like, you're going to be paying for heating no matter what. So why not lessen your heating bill by producing a lot of liquid culture, agar, grain spawn, whatever? Just keep that thing trucking. And you get to utilize the heat and the sterilization. Well, that's a lot. I wish we would get that. We've been getting a few inches every couple of days this past week. See, we don't really get that, anything like that. Our stuff comes and then it goes. It's ephemeral. So, well, thank you all very much for joining me. I enjoyed this. Let's do it again real soon. Something like, maybe Thursday at 5 o'clock. Keep spotting culture, y'all. Have a good night. And stay safe out there in the storm. Stay safe, stay prepared, help your neighbors.
Step into the lab, lights hum like a starship dock. Pine logs stacked like data banks in a cube block. I calibrate climates while the timeline bends. Writing fungal code loops only my psyllium sends. I navigate ecosystems with instinctive precision. Every egg a plate a portal to a parallel vision. Mentorship spin up like reactors at dawn. You want a culture revolution, then you better respond. We fracture the boundaries of the natural order. Make Reishi bloom sideways like a space-time border. I'm an Appalachian alchemist, wild ridge born, with a druid's intuition and a mind full of spores.
Keep spawning culture.
We're the network underfoot, the unseen sculpture.